Initially is for the purpose of the board to elect its own officers. The first consideration of the board is to elect a chair, and I would note that the floor is open to nominations for that position.
I nominate Ken Torrey as chairman of the board.
I second it.
Have the name of Ken Torrey moved and seconded? Are there other nominations? Asking again, are there other nominations?
I move nominations be closed and that the clerk cast a single ballot for Mr. Torrey.
Heard the motion. Is it seconded? I hear a second from Select Member Humiston. All those in favor of casting a unanimous ballot for Mr. Torrey as chair signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ken? Congratulations, and you will now preside over the remainder of the meeting, starting with item 2B.
For your support, bear with me as I muddle through it for next year.
A learning process.
Second order of business is election of vice chairman. Do I hear any nominations?
David is not here tonight. I understand he's been taken sick, but I understand he would like to be vice chairman.
Is there a second?
Excellent.
Is there any other nominations for vice chairman? All those in favor of David Gibson as vice chairman say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Third item is clerk. Nominations for clerk.
Oh, I nominate Richard.
Oh, I'm still nominating David.
Is there a second for that? Any other nominations?
Want to do it again, maybe?
So,
All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed? Nope, motion carried. Third item on the agenda is appointment of officers. This is handed out a list of people that served last year. Majority of them have been contacted, I guess they're interested in this year. You want to take action on this tonight?
It really isn't anything we have to vote on. I don't know either make a motion on. If we all approve. But I think it says we don't have to have a motion on it.
What do we do with it?
We just agree.
Well, there's one that has no name.
Well, town agent. We just have to think of someone for that. We have to think of someone for that. Doesn't have to be done.
There historically has not been a town agent appointed in that we have legal counsel firm that represents the town, and that is not one of the required positions under statute. You could have an agent, but have not historically.
There is not one now.
Currently, and it is not a required appointment as the statutes show, and that came up for you.
Can we just make a motion to go along with this list?
I move that we appoint the individuals listed in the second column and advertise in the dateline for the remaining vacancies.
I second it.
Is there any discussion?
I had some names down for auditors, but if we're going to advertise them, there's no point. But I was suggesting Joyce Heath, maybe. I had Joyce Heath, Frank Mazza, Brian Filio, who's very good with figures, and Jack McConnell.
Now, Richard cannot be an auditor.
No, he can't, that's why.
It's not on the column. Well, we've got a motion here to use these names. There's only one spot to advertise for auditor.
Right.
Okay, is there any other discussion on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next item is designated newspapers. Guess we know historically been the Dateline branding.
So, I move that we use the Dateline branding.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Meeting dates and times.
I would like to see it stay the same, the second and fourth Monday, 7:30.
That's a motion.
I move that we leave it the same as it is, the second and fourth Monday and 7:30 for the time.
Richard seconded it. Is there any other discussion on that? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Approval of minutes of February 26th, 96. Is there any motion concerning these minutes?
I move the minutes be accepted for February 26th meeting.
Second?
Any discussion? Not all those in favor say aye. Motion carried.
Be pleased that that was without correction. Good job.
I read it very carefully.
Sure, good. We're on the right track.
Item 7 is education issues. If there's anyone here from school boards tonight? Item 8 here, asked to introduce your new police officer here at this point.
Yeah, before we, if I could, just as a courtesy to Officer Najeko, who is listed 13th on the agenda. I hope you're not suspicious, Officer Najeko, but our purpose tonight was to introduce our newest full-time officer. Officer Najeko has been with the department for a couple of years as a temporary full-time officer. When Officer Knott took employment with the Rutland City Police, we've reviewed Officer Najeko's qualifications and his participation here in town and have elevated him to the permanent full-time officer effective last week. So I'd like to have the chief introduce him and certainly have him say a few words if he likes and see if there are any questions that might be answered. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Town Ranger. I'd like to introduce Officer Rodney Jekyll. We call him the animal. Rodney is a big boy, but he's got a heart bigger than his body. He's a good officer. Rodney's a good officer. He's orientated. He's very orientated to. Rodney's very orientated to small town politics, and he fits nicely into our community policing. He has his attitude. He's a real good addition. He's going to work out for us. Rodney?
Rodney, is there anything you'd like to say to the town council? I mean, while your gun's still in the holster.
Obey the law. Don't hide behind the phone.
Happy to have you aboard. That's a good start. I enjoy working here. It's a nice town. Fortunately, every time I meet somebody, it's not on the best of terms, but I I guess that's about it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and as a second item, if we can, under citizens' concerns, I know that many of you have asked me about an article recently in the Rutland Herald, which spoke to the circumstances and the current consideration that Vermont Tubs Company is giving to two municipalities, one is Brandon, the other Rutland Town. Bill Karras, the president of both Karras Financial Group, which is the owner of Vermont Tubs, he is also the president of Vermont Tubs, is with us this evening and wishes to update us on the specific circumstances. And with that, I'd like to introduce Bill Karras, the president of Vermont Tubs. Bill, this is
Hi, Bill.
Ken Torrey, our chair.
Hi.
Mamie Humiston,
Hi.
Mary Kennedy,
Hi.
and Richard Kennedy.
Real simply, I just did want to update you folks, particularly in the town of Brandon in general, I guess, on what was going on in the article. You had to read the whole thing to think Brandon was still in consideration. You have gone way out of your way to make it a real positive experience for us in the industrial park here, and we're tickled to death with that. And right now, we're looking at two sites, Rutland Town and the Brandon Industrial Park. I would say the odds are much greater for Brandon. Yeah, really. And it's coming right down to dollars and cents is what it comes down to, as most of these decisions do. There are some soft considerations too, like most of our employees are more from Brandon, even though we've got two operations, one in Rutland, one in Brandon, still the north side of Rutland is where people come from. But the dollars and cents issues are site preparation, cost of land, tax stabilization, some of these other issues. And Brandon, with the information we have as of today, and it seems to change every time I wake up at this point in time, and that's the problem. And we had hoped to know, oh Lord, when did we say we'd give you a final answer about a month and a half ago? Things just keep unfolding. The latest development was Rutland Town had pretty much shot us down, we felt, on a piece of property we're looking at there by starting condemnation proceedings. They backed away from that to let us look at it, and then the day they said they'd do that, the snowstorm hit, so we can't get on with wetlands people. As soon as we can do that, right now with the information we've got, it still looks like Brandon is far more favorable, is how I'd like to put it, as a site for Vermont Tubs. And when we get the wetlands people on it, we'll know for sure, and when we do some soil testing and things like that, we'll be able to add up all the numbers and say this is how it comes out. Be glad to answer any questions. Again, I just want to say thanks for the consideration, cooperation on getting this here.
Is there anything else our community can do to help you?
You have gone way out of your way as far as we're concerned to help us. The biggest issue, and we have told Art right along that we have negotiated with the town, and they've negotiated in good faith, we've negotiated in good faith, so it really comes down to adding up all the numbers. The biggest thing Rutland Town has going for its favor right now is the land cost is more expensive there. It's much primer site as far as other uses, is their favorable tax rate, to be honest. And I don't know what a town can do about it. We've come as far as I feel the town ought to is in stabilization and leveling things off compared to other towns. But one of our guys said it's the shame of the whole process is in the state, and this goes a little bit to some of the state land use or state tax bases, is that it's not the same anyplace else, and Rutland Town has a real advantage over that just because of the level of industry there. You know, it's a tough situation, but when we project that out, that's a big number. So.
Yeah, you had your hand up. Did you have a question?
Well,
Adam?
if anyone else has a question first. My question is, one of the reasons long-term that Brandon wanted an industrial park is because in Forestdale, where there is a furniture factory,
right,
it's part of the aquifer area. And the aquifer protection people have come to Brandon and said, furniture factories in aquifer areas are a no-no. My understanding is that Rutland Town is trying to site a well there. This is not a factor for Rutland Town?
It's their biggest factor, and that's why they started condemnation proceedings on that piece of property. And is what we've done with the town is we've essentially said, let us pay for the engineering study and see if the two's, it's a 100-acre plot, so it's a fairly big plot. If the two sites are compatible, it's not an aquifer area, there is what appears to be a pretty good well possibility for the town. And so we're gonna pay for the engineering study to see if in fact the two are compatible. If they aren't, then it becomes a real easy answer. Brandon is it. It would save us a lot of trouble and work if that was the answer, but it might not be the most economical.
How long will it take for the engineering study to be completed?
It's really as much as anything wetlands work at this point. So if we have a good week this week, we'll get people out there as the snow goes, as I understand it. The day before, or the week before, if they had done this the week before, we would have been all set. You could have put your boots on, been out there. Any other questions?
I'm glad you came, and I'm glad you're thinking very highly of this place, because we need someone with your expertise and knowledge and good working relationship with the people you have.
Well,
Love to have
it's
you.
a good company, it really is.
It is.
And they're doing a good job. We, right now, have about 130 people. Would expect to see it grow to about 250 is what our hope is. So.
If I could, just on behalf of the board, I've engaged in, not just discussions.
A lot of discussions.
Out and out negotiations.
Yeah, out and out negotiations.
And I just want to say that at all times, Bill and all of his staff that have been in this project have been very forthright. To our knowledge, we've not gotten any inaccurate or misleading information, and I've considered it a pleasure to do business that way, even when some of the information was difficult, such as we're now getting. I've never found a negotiating team to be anything but very direct and totally honest. And I appreciate that in your corporate culture.
Well, you guys have also done the same thing, and I've got to say the Brandon Development Corp and the town have just been right there. Makes it a pleasure compared to other situations we've been in. You hear horror stories about Vermont, but they sure as hell aren't here.
Well, we look forward to you being here, and hope that decision will bring you this way.
As soon as we make up our mind, we'll let you know. I think it's a month at the outside this time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for giving me the courtesy of allowing Bill to speak and get back to his business schedule as well. Appreciate that.
Citizens' concerns. Anyone else? Just,
I have a concern about Town Farm Road and the reconstruction project that was started in '94. They had a vote on, in fact, the way it's worded in the book is to see if the town will direct the select board to do paving improvements on McConnell Road before paving any other roads, excluding emergency situations, with town monies budgeted in the public works budget for fiscal year 1996-97. Now, the way this is worded, I think most people in town would vote for it. But my question is, Town Farm Road was budgeted in the 95-96 budget. Why would this supersede, pardon? Or will this supersede the work on Town Farm Road if it's different budget?
The Deckers have been into to my office, and they've been, again, easy to deal with. I understand that they are certainly disappointed with the vote that the town took last Monday. I've advised them that, as I understand the vote last Monday, it does direct the town and the Public Works Department to focus its energy on McConnell Road. At the same time, that there was a spirit amongst the petition originator, Les Rickard, that didn't seem that it was his intent to hurt other townspeople by that vote, but certainly to get the work going on the Connell Road. To the extent that we can accommodate other drastic situations or conditions in the town, Bruce Brown, the superintendent, and myself are certainly open to that discussion, but it is my belief that that vote was a legitimate vote where we do have to put a clear priority status on the Connell Road for its reconstruction. And we are in fact looking for any alternative funding methods that can be solicited to help move that along. There are none in place right now, but we are not going to rely solely on the current budget as is projected in our own 5-year plan. So yes, McConnell Road will be a priority.
But I guess my question is, if it's two different budgets, how does it end up being taking away from last year's budget? If it was supposed to be spent in the 95-96 budget, how can we take that money and all of a sudden throw it on another road that has monies budgeted from 96-97?
What is voted into a budget can be amended in the budget, and I view the vote of the townspeople as an amendment of unexpended funds at the present time.
So you're taking last year's budget and throwing it in with 96-97 budget? Is that what's happening?
That will be a consideration that this board will have to go through, but that certainly is one of the funding methods to get more done on the Connell Road than would normally be done in the first year of that cycle.
Is that normally what they do? Take last year's budget and add it into the present year or the next year's budget?
It has been standard practice to do that on unexpended funds.
Even if it is budgeted and if, like this was budgeted for a certain road or certain roads, and the work just didn't have time to be finished. It's not that they decided not to do it. It wasn't finished. So they can...
I'd like to address that point. What's been standard practice in the past may not necessarily be the practice of this board. If the money is not spent prior to June 30th, 1996,
Right.
under Vermont statutes annotated, it should be returned to the taxpayers, not allocated for another project.
And that's what I was told, that the money had to be spent by June 30th or July 1st or whatever, and that was the money that was going to be spent on Town Farm Road. Unfortunately, last year when they started, actually they started in 94, they didn't last fall and last summer, there wasn't a lot of work done on Town Farm Road to achieve what they had hoped to achieve. And we were sent a letter saying when they had started it in summer of 94 and that they were going to keep going on and they hoped to have it done by, let's see, fall of 95. Obviously, it wasn't done. But Town Farm Road, especially certain parts of it, are unsafe. I don't know if any of you have gone down there recently. And another big concern is the trucks. There are big trucks because there's 3 sand pits on that road. So the trucks go down, we've seen 20, 30, 40 a day. And it's tearing up what you've already fixed, what the town has already fixed, and making worse what's already in bad shape. And the bridge that goes over right after Newton Thompson Road, that's deteriorating from the trucks. Is there a weight limit on the road? Is it being followed with all those trucks?
Yeah, all town roads have a 24,000-pound weight limit for the last question. I would suggest that there's about approximately $35,000 left over from monies that Richard says needs to be spent before the 30th of June, but I think if it was contracted for, that might be adequate. That was intended to be spent on Town Farm Road. We simply ran out of time last year to do the necessary prep work, the culverts and the ditching that goes into it. But realistically, what Art is, I think, alluding to is to try to do both roads in one summer with town forces. There are alternatives. You can contracting the ditching and the culverts. That's a possibility that could happen on McConnell Road.
but I would go along with what was spoken to at town meeting, that you not just simply repave the road. They want it at least somewhat rebuilt, and it needs a little more gravel and reclaiming and stuff. So, but realistically, with town maintenance forces, to rebuild two roads in one summer is really unrealistic. So I don't know what happens to the remaining $35,000, whether you concentrated on McConnell Road with the 96, 97 monies, or you try to do both roads. I don't know what the answer is there.
This brings up a couple of questions. One, I know this is a new board, but has the board given thought to considering putting out a request for a bond for Town Farm, if need be, McConnell, Arnold District Road, which was a commitment made 10 years ago to finish Arnold District Road when we started it, and get them up to par where they are so that you're not using paving budgets which go to hurt roads that you want to maintain so that they don't get into the condition that McConnell Road has gotten, Town Farm has gotten, and some of the others. And also, along that same line, I take, if there's $80,000, $90,000 in the budget for McConnell Road, and by Art's comments that it would take $300,000 to fix McConnell Road, what needs to be fixed, that we're looking at a 2 or 3 year project such that parts are going to get worse, and that's 3 years that no roads possibly will be taken care of, so that more roads are going to deteriorate, and instead of $300,000 it may actually be a little bit more because McConnell Road's going to deteriorate that much further. And I'm just wondering if maybe now isn't the time to consider bonding and taking care of the roads that we've got. I know we can't do anything this year, but whether if we have a special election or next year, bringing to the town a bond for these roads and get them fixed and do it now, so that, because next year if enough people on Arnold District Road get their friends together and say, no, this year's priority is Arnold District Road, you spent $90,000 in McConnell, and that gets pushed back, and you're setting a bad precedent in my opinion that way.
Well, it has not been discussed. This is the first meeting since this vote was taken last Monday. There has been, we went through the budget process, some formal discussion on how to deal with this issue. The board has to look at it and make some decisions and decide what to do it. But bonding was something talked about. Still trying to obtain funds from the state is another thing that we're looking at. So,
just, if I could, Brian, just to make one clarification, the existing capital budget did not include doing the entire length of McConnell Road.
Right.
It only included down to Birch Hill Road, I believe, in the projections in the 5-year plan. So
is that
the cost that I mentioned at the town meeting is for the entire 3.1 miles of road.
and there's certainly parts of that road that do not have to be done.
Yeah, down towards from
Like
like
the south end, is it?
Wood Lane down to 7 and from Paintworks up is not in bad shape. From Paintworks down to Birch Hill certainly is the worst, and there's some spots in there that are worse than that. But Arnold District Road is getting atrocious. I mean, I went over that the other day, and you know, that is a commitment. Well, Ken was on board when the first $100,000 was, you know, brought to the people, and there was a sort of a commitment that we would finish that road. And I understand Arnold District doesn't get the traffic maybe that McConnell does, but you know, I think it's time, rather than, you know, face next year the possibility of Arnold District or some other road taking priority over McConnell Road, and just get into a vicious cycle where enough people get together and their road gets taken care of. Thanks.
Is there anyone else under citizens' concerns?
Yes.
Yeah, that fellow had his hand up earlier.
Yeah, well, after reading the town report, looking at the delinquent taxes, and the amount that it's built up to, is there any way that, is there a payment system that the town has set up to collect some of those monies, or do we just wait until everything goes into tax sale and then you gotta wait a year for people to pay those up, or how does that work? I mean, is there any way the town collects those monies, or does it just fall by the wayside?
Please understand, when I say this, I'm not acknowledging that it is the only way that it can be done. The past practice, this does not have a stated policy that I am aware of. The prior practice has been that a taxpayer is not considered delinquent until there is, that they are really 2 years behind. In other words, they have not paid the previous fiscal year and have not now paid the fiscal year in which we are in. And at that point, proceedings are started to collect taxes for those 2 years. By statute, we certainly have the right to start requiring collection sooner. And from a meeting, I believe it was 1 or 2 meetings ago, and I apologize if I did, this question was brought up by another citizen, and it is my intention certainly to review the alternatives that the town has, legal point of view, to accelerate the collection procedure, but there is no policy currently in place that has been approved.
If I can just follow up, is there some way you could make like a payment plan with taxpayers to make it easier for them, or?
We do
It's already
make
in
that
place?
effort. We do make that effort right from the beginning. Any delinquent taxpayers are contacted in writing and by phone in an effort to develop a payment plan that will work for them. Some people do that, others say they will and don't. And, we have been lenient in the past to try and allow people as much time as possible to pay before we go to the court system or the tax sale system, because that actually adds cost to those folks as well. But can we do a better job and collect quicker? Yes. We statutorily have the right to do that.
At what point is that initial contact made, do you know?
If they are, taxes are not due until the 15th of May for the fiscal year in which they are charged. No one is considered late under our system until May 15th, so they would not be contacted until after May 15th, usually in June. After the May dates have gone by, they would be contacted by letter, but not taken to tax sale until another year goes by.
And does the letter inform them of the full situation, their responsibilities?
The last one did. I can't speak to any previous letters. The last one that we sent out advised them of all of their statutory rights and obligations in that letter.
Has that letter been reviewed by the town attorney?
That letter was in fact partially authored by the town attorney.
Is the town manager still considered the delinquent tax collecting town as part of, when Pam Jones was here, she was a delinquent tax collector such that we didn't have to pay somebody else X amount of dollars to do it. We just considered that part of the job. Is that this board's continuing policy?
It should be, yes, I believe it is.
This board hasn't taken affirmative action to that.
No, that's right. Probably should.
I think that's something we ought to consider. Previous board did.
Yeah.
Gentleman back there asked for the payment plan. If you wanted to pay your taxes monthly, before they're delinquent, you can do that also now.
I'm just gonna say, how effective is this approach been in the past, as far as collecting those monies?
I think it has been quite effective, but the question is it timely? It's a question of timeliness, not being able to collect. I mean, we have always collected the money, not necessarily in a timely fashion.
So you tried diplomacy anyway, you tried that approach, rather than...
In the 6 months, 7 months that I've been here, there have been, in the one tax sale process we've gone through, I mean, every courtesy and opportunity to get these paid up is extended to the taxpayer.
Okay. I just want to know, because it seems, when we look at that amount, $237,000, even with all these things we want to do for the town of Brandon in this. When you look at that, you're like, well, let's see if we can get something going there, instead of going and borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. So, seems like you've answered my questions.
Is there anyone else under citizen concerns? Mrs. Wilson?
Along the same line, I have primarily a concern that there are some arrogant business and professional persons who are taking advantage and manipulating the taxpayer funds to subsidize their investments. And that was brought to light by a visit to the town office today, and whereby I determined that without a factor for owner-occupied units, that 55% of that 1995 delinquency was attributable to lending institutions, businesses, and landlords, not individual homeowners. And that 18 of those delinquent taxpayers listed collect rents. 5 of those didn't even file compliance statements for January on a total of 20 rented units. They have since, some of them have since caught up, but there are 3 still non-compliant with a total of 5 rental units. So it's like they're challenging the system or just plain ignoring it because they're not apparently being penalized or pushed hard enough to make it worth their while to pay like the rest of the taxes. Qualifying homeowners who are delinquent taxpayers may file claims for property tax rebates to be assigned to the town. And they also may even qualify for 1996 prepayment assistance. Some of the delinquent individuals I have spoken with have not even been made aware that they may be eligible even though they haven't paid those taxes. So I think there's more room for education. Jack McKernan has suggested at an earlier meeting that we need to educate these taxpayers on what it's costing them to borrow this money from the town. But I think there's room for further education on what other resources are available to these people. And I'm talking homeowners. This doesn't apply to landlords, lending institutions, or businesses. In the case of landlords, their tenants may receive rebates based on the property tax allocated to their rental units, even if the tax has not been paid by the landlord. And the state says it's up to the town to take that up with the landlords. They cannot monitor that. And I guess my question is, in filing for a renewal application for a real estate license, one of the questions asked to be certified by the applicant is if they are in good standing with respect to or in full compliance with a plan to pay any and all taxes due to the state of Vermont as of the date of this application. Is there any way a town could adopt a similar ordinance to refuse to certify these properties that are not complying?
I have no idea to that answer.
Is that something that you could look into?
The board wants me to do some research on that, I'd be happy to do it. My sense is you can create a local ordinance as long as it's under enabling statutes, and you can be as tough as you want.
Okay, that was my second concern was regarding the apparent selective nature of code enforcement. And again, it appears that some of these individuals are challenging the system. The total of 45 units are currently non-compliant in that they either haven't filed the compliance statements, or they just don't have certificates of occupancy. And it just appears that when you look at the delinquent tax list and then you go to the code enforcement records, a lot of those are the same. And again, it's just, why aren't they riding herd on those people that are offending instead of the people that are supporting the town?
If that's a general question, I'd like to respond to it because most recently I have had occasion to deal with the town attorney concerning the rental code and the violation of at least some properties which could come close to a total of 25 units in total by a single property owner. And I will state clearly that the town code enforcement officer has been diligent at pursuing that particular issue. That issue has been reviewed with this board in executive sessions and is being pursued under the guidance of the decisions of this board in executive session. Is being monitored closely by our town attorney, the attorney for the other party. And I'd just like to be real clear and on the record that the code enforcement officer has done an excellent job of detailing and backgrounding that information for our town attorney.
And he is paying his taxes, and I pay my taxes, and I've been, diligent about following the guidelines. And again, my question is, instead of focusing on these one-stop, so to speak, situations where you have a mass property owner, and it's easy to say, oh boy, we've got all these eggs in one basket, let's, go after them. Why not go after the people who are arrogantly ignoring all of the rules? They're not paying their taxes, they're renting properties without COs, they're on both lists, and they're getting away with it. This guy you're speaking of, I know who it is. Granted, he needs to be monitored, and he should be monitored. But why not focus a similar amount of attention on all of these others who are in total violation, don't pay their taxes, they're collecting rents from tenants supposedly to use to pay the taxes, and then not paying the taxes.
Without the research, I can't tell you if they're violating a statute, but...
It took a total of 4 hours to get this full page of information at the town office today. So it wouldn't take an awful lot of someone's time to check that out. Because I am equally concerned with this total, and as Jack McKernan had pointed out, that amount could actually fund the operations of the town office for a year. And we're talking about we can't fix roads, we don't have the money to do this, we don't have the money to do that. It's there, it's not being collected.
So take note of your concerns, and I guess we will have to work at it.
Mm-hmm. And again, the final situation was, why are we targeting trailer parks when there are violations in the whole community of animal ordinance and so on? And that was a direct directive from the health officer to target those. I have it right here in this one. I feel that the town,
Would it be because of the concentration of animals in a small area?
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
compared to, again, why pick on these neat little packages instead of doing the job overall?
I think if you refer to that letter and also the memo that I did in November and then the memo that I did in January, you'll note that I was suggesting as a start to the rabies program control that we start in the most populated areas where there are a lot of animal population as well. And that would be the central downtown areas where there's a lot of neighborhoods, the trail parks, and also the ones that we already know have not registered their animals, that because of dog bites, we have over the last 3 years collected a number of violations in those areas, and so I suggested that that would be a starting point. We've not had one meeting since those letters went out, so I have no way of knowing whether or not all of that stuff is done, other than Gigi has come to me and said that he started some work on that. Had we gotten together, had a meeting, maybe we'd start spreading out a little bit. My suggestion was that's a starting point, that's all.
Gigi did the entire list and did visit all of the trailer parks. There's nothing here about concentrating downtown. There's a list of 25.
Do you have the memo that went with that list?
No, I have this list
That list
of
is attached to it.
identified to people that were possible offenders. And at the bottom, all by yourself, need to check all trailer park residents for cats and dogs.
It has been done as a starting point, like Debbie says, you gotta start somewhere, Mary, and it takes time.
Well, I just would like to know that it's been fair to everyone in the community, that they're not just targeting certain areas, certain
Well, these are the ones that do
individuals.
pay, but to be honest with you, we don't just go here and say, all you people here. I go one place in town, then another, and another. I don't go just one certain place.
I know you do, but the directive was specific.
But you gotta start somewhere.
I was just curious on this last section D that you have here now. Does it mean that the trailer parks have more dogs not registered and are allowed to run around more than you see dogs in town?
A lot of them not registered.
But in town, we have a lot of dogs running around now.
Need the memo to go over this.
Yeah. Right.
Richard hasn't seen it at all.
No.
If I could also just remind the board, and not because you would not remember, but just to clarify at our last meeting, the question I believe was asked by Mr. Torrey, why I had not followed up on the census and ordinance detail recommended by the health officer, and I assured the board that I would. I still assure you that I will. That has not been done at this present time. I wish to acknowledge that, and that a formal program between the health officer and the statutory requirement of the constable to follow through on that census needs to be researched a little and put in place. And I think by following state statutes and the demand of the health department, we can do a good job in a cost-effective way, which I think I expressed was my biggest concern, that we don't have a specific budget for this, and we need to be sure that we can do it in a cost-effective manner. I still reassure the board that that will be done. I will bring it to a higher level of attention based on the public concern that's been expressed, and see if we can't get that started within the month.
The last meeting, Mr. Chairman, we came through, the selectman says, I don't think it's necessary if we do that, if we send things out. But as I pointed out to Art, I brought him the memo from the state, and which Debbie gave me several times, and we gotta get after it. As she's been implicit about that, to get it done, and I gave Art the, and I showed him where the state demands it, it requires that we do it. And I know the man in Leicester, the constable, did it, and he charged so much a house, which he has to do because they're far apart instead of by the hour.
Is there anybody else, the citizens' concerns? If not, we'll go to the next item on the agenda is announcements. Does anyone have any announcements?
For anyone who missed it, on the editorial page of last Thursday's Addison Independent is an excellent article about the unique village characteristics of Brandon. I would recommend that you go take a look at it. It's good to see some favorable press.
Yes.
Last Thursday's Addison Independent.
If you like, I'll forward a copy to each select board member.
Oh, yes.
One I had one given to me today, and I'll be glad to forward you a copy in your packet.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else to start? Next item on the agenda is department reports.
Received the police reports this evening. Pass those along.
Reports, if you want to look this over, so you see any questions. Please.
Yeah, I just got that today.
Is there any questions on the department reports that were in your packet? Or just given to you? I was wondering, are you getting a lot of applicants for your, both departments for your staff that's missing?
Yes, we had 22 applicants.
Does it look like there's some good ones?
Yes.
How about you, Phil?
There's quite a few.
You've been through the academy, you're certified?
Off the top of my head, I think I have 5 or 6 full-time certified applicants. And a number of them are part-time. We have another large number of what I call fully certifiable candidates. There was a fully certified officers in another state, and if you are, your training is compatible to ours. You go through a 1-week waiver school and get your full certification. So we have a large number. I think March 18th, Ken, is the deadline.
Board have any questions? This will go to warrant list.
Okay, I have a few questions. Number one, do we have it in larger print the next time? We complained about it in the past. And it's not just because I'm old and can't read.
Could contribute,
No, I have that corrected. Okay, on Eastern Electric, maybe Art would like to tell us what happened to Raymond Forest when we spent
During
$318.95.
during a day of snow plowing, the truck body caught a low-hanging wire that was a Central Vermont Public Service entrance service wire to that house. It snapped the wire and also pulled the meter box from the house. I received a call immediately from the operator of the truck. CB was notified. The service to the man's house was reinstalled. The line was brought up to the required height, and we agreed to split the cost of that repair because there really is no way to determine whether or not the line is below statutory requirement or our truck was above statutory requirement. So we agreed to CV to split the cost on that 50/50. We got the bill, we will be reimbursed half of that by central government.
And the solid waste management, I think we were told at one of the meetings that they were going to reduce some of the rates. Has that been done, and on what?
Coming into next year's contract, the rates that will be reduced will be, the tipping fee is down from $86 to $80. So tipping fees are down. That does not change the actual hauling cost. Changes the fee that we pay to have our trash distributed to the solid waste system. So yes, they will be down. It would not reflect in any previous bills that we.
So it's going to start when?
What's the effective date of that?
The effective date is January 1st, 1996.
Is it? Okay, on the tipping fees, but that doesn't change, that doesn't change.
The hauling
delivery.
fees are the
Hauling
same.
fees stay the same.
Hauling's going to stay the same. And, well, I guess Ken's already asked this question. Rutland Herald ads advertising for a full-time equipment operator. Has someone gotten through? Is that the idea, or?
We had a resignation, John Lynn Notice, resigned 2 months, Super Bowl night.
Yeah. Middle of the Super Bowl game.
The middle of it?
I thought you were
Halftime.
gonna ask a different question, maybe. Why one ad was $64 and the other one was $243?
Well, one was in for.
Well, it might have been for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
The size, I don't know. I'd have to
2
check.
days, I think.
It's done on
I
a
think
per line
one
in
was 1
basis.
day and one was 2 days, I'm not sure. And McDonald's Auto Body, what happened to the 92 Crown Victoria?
The 92 Crown Victoria did about 3 or 4 360s, then came backwards through the parking lot of Green Mountain Garage and threw a sign and ripped off the left or right front fender.
And why?
Very icy conditions.
Oh, right. All right. That's different.
It was somewhat, and as you can't say it was comical, it certainly was upsetting to Officer Knott, who had already given his resignation and was 3 days from going to work for Rutland City Police. With all due respect, Mike, but it was conditions of the road. At the crest of the hill by the Legion Club, he had turned around to pursue a person that was speeding in town during the early morning traffic, hit that corner with some icy conditions and lost control and went across the road and hit a sign.
Wow, it wasn't me.
I thought it wasn't coming to.
We will have a deductible, we'll have a deductible on our insurance of $500. The remainder is paid by the comprehensive collision coverage of our insurance.
And on that, I want to mention, I cannot find that amount in my warrant list, but it is in the one we're going to sign. But I've checked all the way down through, and I cannot find it on mine. The other figures are down there for, from McDonald's,
Yeah,
but
I'll
that
have to
one
check
is
your
not.
copy. It was $2,680 some odd dollars. if I recall.
$2,686.93.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions?
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's not done yet, right?
No, I'm not. The invoice to Waterwise, Concord, New Hampshire for Palmer,
Yep.
$2,664.75.
Yep.
And didn't come before the board, but you mentioned why. Well, the article, when I went over it today, it said it did not come before the board.
You
So
will find
maybe
that
I'm
the
getting
date,
it late.
I believe I explained to the board at our last meeting, February 26th, that I had signed a purchase order because of the delivery requirements, the nature of this. So, yes, I did sign it before board approval. I advised you of that at the last meeting before we got
It
to
was
the vote.
also on.
Yeah, I put it down there so there wouldn't be any question that I knowingly was signing that because of the delivery requirements.
And I'm mentioning Dufresne and Henry again. They're still inspecting Carver Street project, and this is way over the time frame.
That is correct. The contractor did not complete the project on time. It is still not technically complete to the bid spec because replanting and regrading of the disturbed easements have not been done. We collect any of those additional fees charged by the engineer through a process called liquidated damages beyond the date of the completion that was in the contract. I think I've mentioned to you at previous meetings that that contract is not yet closed out. We will be assessing liquidated damages against the contractor, and that will be the way by which we get back those extra expenses.
Just inspection is, it costs a fortune. I mean,
Engineering is an
it's
expensive.
hourly rate that,
Engineering is an expensive process.
I guess that's it.
Well, times are tight and taxes are going up, and I just wonder about the value of our renewing our membership in American Public Works to $90.
Yeah.
Well, that's a separate issue, which is the method of allocation.
Is one membership in three ways?
It's
Yeah.
three budgets that
I
is being allocated to wastewater, transfer station, and public works. Same three places that the superintendent's salary is distributed.
But in a different formula.
Correct.
Richard, I started to bring that up, and then I discovered it was for 3 different people, but I thought 90 was pretty high.
No, it's one membership
Yeah.
distributed anyway. If I have not previously reviewed that with the member involved, if that's something that you wish for us to do, then we could. I have to believe that there are benefit membership services that result from that membership that the superintendent believes are worth the $90 that we spend. But I don't know that for a fact.
Could you come back to us on that? On the benefits?
Could come back on the benefit, and in fact, if you like, particularly with the one for Dupont Henry, I would not be upset if you pass the warrant list and ask me to hold that out. We have a meeting with the engineer and the contractor sometime in the next week to try and close that project out. They deserve the money, in my opinion, but if it's another week, it's not going to be an earth-shaking thing. We still, there'll be another bill yet. They've been at work since that last one, so that's not the last bill we'll get. So I mean, I don't have any problem with the board choosing to
I
hold that
noticed
out.
on our last letter from the state that we are going to be able to do that. Probably it won't pass, that we can withhold, we can go over the warrant list and withhold something if the board so wishes to do so.
So I believe so,
Yeah.
You have every right to say you're not going to pay that without further explanation or verification.
Yeah.
Is there any motion to consider this warrant list?
I move we approve the warrant list with the exception of the annual membership in American Public Works.
Is there a second? If that motion fails, Ryan will second. Any other motions?
I make a motion that our warrant list be approved as received.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Any further discussion on the warrant list? Not, I'll look. Were you gonna say something?
I was just going to make a general observation that when our taxpayers' budgets are tight, they cut out subscriptions and donations and things of that nature. And I think this is something we ought to take a look at in our own budget, particularly without an explanation of what the advantages are to the taxpayers of this membership.
All those in favor?
Ken, could we ask Bruce what the advantages are before we vote?
Bruce, would you like to tell us about this organization?
Well, obviously it's professional organization which has a lot of resources that you can tap into. Has a yearly congress. I attended one in Toronto a few years ago when I worked for the town of Essex. Most of them, and it had a reduced attendance fee by belonging to this association. There is a trade magazine that is pretty good. Most recently, Fred and I attended a teleconference at the Vermont ETV studios in Channel 22, I think it is, in Colchester. It was dealing with difficult personnel, basically, is what it was all about. And various publications, that's about it.
Where is this booth? I know it's.
American Public
out of
Works.
state. Where?
Des Moines,
What state?
I think, Iowa.
Yeah.
Is the headquarters, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a national thing, yeah. The one I attended, the conference, the convention that I attended in Toronto was American and Canadian Public Works. It was a very good trade show, and there was seminars all day long for the whole week, and you could pick and choose whatever seminar you wanted to go to.
But you weren't intending to travel out there?
No, I wanted to. The first year I was here, it was in Boston, but it was austerity year apparently, because I could have got it partially funded by the Vermont Municipal Highways Association and a few other things, and it wouldn't have cost the town of Brandon too much, but it got vetoed. The rest of them have been way away. Las Vegas, Sacramento, way away.
Which was vetoed?
They were just out of the question.
Vegas would be all right.
I like Vegas.
Any discussion on this? All those in favor say aye.
Just for the board's information, the organization is headquartered in Kansas City, Missouri.
I'd like to point out that the warrant list does not pass unless Mr. Torrey chooses to vote aye. I didn't, there was so much noise.
I've passed along to you, if you would sign that warrant list, and then another warrant list for the board honorariums from last year. This is not for the current seated board. This is to complete the business of the past board.
Would you like to start on the next item, tax specification?
Does this have to be voted on?
Yeah. Yes, it does. I passed that out as a vote. It was done as a separate warrant.
I move we approve the warrant for the last half of the honorarium for the retiring board.
Second to that. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Thank you, Richard.
Any good? The short list is on the, definitely want the original sign.
Could I have that short list back?
Yeah, I guess.
Someone's asking.
I gave you the wrong one.
That's the wrong one?
Yeah, it'll be the one with perforation. Just as the housekeeping, while we're doing signature, if you already passed that, and that's that as well as the town service officer appointment. That'd be important there.
Yeah, how do you know whether he signed your name?
I will soon see. Iris distributing some purchase order here, consideration.
to a purchase order that was asked to be processed today. Since we did the board packets, it's for additional road salt, which we believe will be needed before the winter is complete. And on it, Bruce has put a note that this is 3 loads over budget currently, and one that hasn't yet been delivered, but that his belief that we do need this additional salt and inventory for what would be the typical remaining conditions in the winter.
I move that we bring the warrant for salt.
You don't wanna take a chance on it, huh, Bruce?
Oh, I'm not gonna order it if we don't need it, believe me.
Well, okay.
So this would be an authorization, not
It's an
necessarily...
authorization, that's all, yeah.
Oh, good.
I wanna use up what we have on hand, I'm not going to order it. Unless I absolutely need it.
Yeah, see what happens is at times we'll get into a situation where it gets down close and he needs to get it done in, 10 days or whatever before a board meeting.
I do believe we've been quite fortunate in that we've been right up even Stevens, right up to now. That little January break gave us a little breathing room.
Well, did we have a second to the motion?
No,
No.
I made the motion.
I'll second it. Go ahead.
Is there any other discussion?
Discussion.
That's what I was waiting for.
First of all, there are no units given on this purchase order. And second of all, that is the unit price of $44.72 compared to what we've been paying previously this season.
That's the contract unit price for the whole season, and that's negotiated by the state of Vermont. They bid out each transportation district, which there are 9 in the state, and then the town buys under the state contract for the same price as the state does, and it's for the entire season. It's been going up about $2 a ton approximately per year.
I guess I'm searching for a quantity. This looks like an incomplete purchase order.
Well,
Those are estimated truckloads, it's by the ton, so.
Well, then is it too much work to put how many tons you intend to buy? If that's what you're bringing to us?
There's nothing in the first column, Bruce.
I don't know.
Yeah, Bruce, the way this got typed, I don't have my calculator right here, but it looks like, what do we got, Richard, somewhere in the vicinity of 95 tons?
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
What I will assure the board is that I'll do the mathematic interpretation of the tonnage to reflect that total at $44.72 per ton.
How much is the purchase order?
4,250.
4,250?
44.72 per unit ton.
And he's saying he might not have to use it, or he might not need it all.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, 95 cents.
those are awfully big trucks.
Well, this would be more than one. This would be
4 trucks.
Yeah.
2 trucks.
Yeah, see, you get paid by the ton, but ordered by the truck, and they do a scale weighing of it.
Is there any more
Yeah,
discussion?
some trucks weigh a little bit more or a little bit less than others, that's all.
Any more discussion on this motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, motion carried.
So that I don't get them misplaced, are there 2 warrant authorizations that have signatures? I don't have either of those back. Yes, I do. We have one. I only need one back. Thank you. Yep. Thank you.
You only need 3 signatures, I believe.
So you're not signing?
That's correct.
That one.
All right, tax anticipation note.
We have request for tax anticipation note, which has typically been done. I think you have a copy of this in your packet. You should have had my apologies. This is for $350,000 in anticipation of taxes at a borrowing rate of 4.56% from the First Brandon National Bank.
What's the percent?
4.56.
the existing tax anticipation law?
My understanding is this is a renewal of that. Purpose of this is that the one that is currently in place is due. It is a one-year term, which has been done in a one-year cycle. The first organizational meeting in March, as I forgot.
It was not put out for bid.
I cannot answer that. I did not put it out to bid.
Last year's been a full point survey of our rates. Any motion to this?
I move we accept the tax anticipation note as recommended by the town manager.
Second.
Any further discussion? Not all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, motion carries.
There are two documents that will need your signature and the right-hand columns on this one.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is that note paid down as taxes are received?
That is, as a line of credit, so we use as
We
needed,
use
paid
it
back, paid back as we receive.
But it is paid back as taxes are received?
Yes.
Thanks.
There's another place down below there.
Oh.
This one's for your tax.
Yeah, that was.
It was, okay.
What's not in the agenda?
And we don't
Yeah,
read
it's
that either.
FEMA agent authorization number 13.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Farm equipment manufacturer. Alright, so we want to go on now to the 4th of July parade committee request. Have you all read in your packet the request from the Independence Day Parade Committee? Have any feelings towards that?
Well, in honor of Mr. Gibson, ordinarily don't we say that we don't have a problem with it as long as we check with the church to make sure they're not doing something the same day?
Is that a motion, Richard?
I guess.
I second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And we've done 13, FEMA.
Next item is resignation of the agent for federal emergency something or other.
Emergency Management Authority.
That was in your packet, just a letter on the back, self-explanatory. I'll sign on twice, right?
Yeah, but they'll, if we need to do a new note, I think the local bank will be upset with work with that.
Is there any questions or motions pertinent to that?
Just a point of clarification, I'd asked for Bruce to be the authorized agent. Bruce has done all of the preparation. I met with the FEMA representatives on Friday, and while I had originally had my name on the form, because they've gone through the process and the validation of all of the numbers, the FEMA rep asked if Bruce couldn't be designated the agent, because all of the paperwork has his verifications on it to begin with. So it is appropriate, and it's at FEMA's request that Bruce would be the agent for this particular reimbursement.
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I just wondered what entanglements we're getting into by accepting this free money.
Bruce,
Nothing.
there's none. I mean, it is.
It came up, well, I'm not quite sure the adjusted figure was, I had it at $9,800 and he did a little bit more adjusting after that and downward, so, and we get 75%. Okay. 15 days.
This is for that washout.
Oh, yeah, I understand, but nothing is, comes for nothing.
There is one other thing that I'm going to apply for, and I guess we have up to 2 years. They have another pot of money that's called mitigating the circumstances, and one of the things that I've considered is putting some waterproof manholes on some of our manholes in the floodplain. Probably somewhere around $16,000, what, 36, Steve? 36 identified manholes in the floodplain that need waterproof covers, because at the time of this flood, we were within 3 feet of the floor running out the door down there, so, because we have manholes. Most of the water infiltrates through the pick holes. So we'll see where that goes when it comes to it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Ken, if I may, I have one other authorization that I'd like to review with the board. Each year, the Highway Department Public Works is allowed to ask for reimbursement of pre-approved Class 2 paving and bridge and culvert work. And has regularly made applications through the district highway department for reimbursement on certain projects. Bruce is in the process of developing and completing those applications, but they are due before your next board meeting. I would request that you approve myself as the agent to sign the Class 2 paving and bridge and culvert grant request that will be going in before your next meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, aren't we supposed to be signing the FEMA thing?
It's, being signed on.
Keep signing it.
All right, town manager report.
I have nothing to add to what we've been going on.
I see we have here, it says liquor licenses, it's not on the agenda, but.
Yes, those were given to me after. We have liquor license requests which have been reviewed by the police department. They are for the following, and I'm going to read the list. There are 2 copies for each, so and they all have to be signed. For the Neshabie Golf Club, if you so choose. For Reed's Beverage, Hunting and Fishing Supply, which is the liquor store next to James.
We just had one for him, but the date runs out, is that?
I believe his was, I believe his was a renewal of the existing license to
Yes,
take that
it
up, so
was.
it needed to be
Yeah,
renewed.
it was.
The Brandon Inn, the Lilac Inn, Booth's Junction Store, the Jiffy Mart, Adams Motor Inn, Champlain Farms, and Mac's Convenience Store. There are no notations from the police department with the exception of motor vehicle violations on the part of one board member for the country club, but that is one of 8 persons on the application, and they are strictly motor vehicle citations. But when they do a check, police will note that on these files. There are no felon situations in the searches of any of the persons involved.
What's your pleasure on this?
I just have a question. Is there a particular reason why this subset of sellers of alcoholic beverages are coming before us with a license application tonight and others aren't?
Because these guys are on the ball, and the other guys are going to rush in here next meeting and want their son.
That's a waste of time.
We just have to rush them up in their flowers.
But Should we perhaps send a letter to the grain union companies, since they're one of the largest delinquent property tax
I wonder.
companies and property owners in the town of Brandon, that if they want their license renewed, they should find the $11,000 they owe us?
We could, but it's my understanding, and I am researching that, do not have a definitive answer, that they are protected under the bankruptcy court from having to,
They may be protected from having to pay their taxes, but they're not protected from having a license to sell alcoholic beverages. Just a thought. I think a nice letter from the town manager might stimulate them to find some money and pay their tax bill.
you want it to be just a jab or a follow-up combination?
Whatever your pleasure is. I'd just like to collect the $11,000, that's all.
It would be nice.
Yes, it would.
The reason, just again for information's sake, that it did not appear on the tax sale list is because it is protected from tax sale under the bankruptcy court proceedings, therefore it was not taken to tax sale.
But it is true, they're not protected from the liquor license.
I would expect that is the case.
What's your pleasure on these liquor licenses on the list that you gave us?
Move to approval.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
All right.
Motion carried.
What I'll do is to save these for signature, but before you do leave, we can do these all in one swoop rather than pass them, because there's, we got what, 16 documents to go sign.
All right. Any other germane business?
I don't know that we can vote on this tonight, but I'm very anxious that we get insurance on the Sanderson Bridge. I don't know whether it would have to be on the next agenda or what.
We do have one more on the agenda.
Could you make note of that, Art, to
Yes.
put on the agenda for next meeting?
Well, in fact, if we could expand that a little bit, since the voters have spoken that they want us to earmark $50,000 for the Sanderson Bridge project, perhaps we ought to have a sense of how we intend to do that.
We'll take it up next time.
Ken, I've written to the Agency of Transportation, Warren Tripp is the design engineer, and asked him what further information that they would request from the town. I think what we're going to find, because the Agency of Transportation does not have specialists in wooden bridge reconstruction or even wooden bridge construction, that they are apt to put the design work for that out to bid to specialists, although they also may choose to do it internally, because they do see that this may be the first of what may be an increasing number of requests to rehabilitate historic wooden bridges. They have the freedom to do it whichever way they want, but it may have something to do with the time frame of the projected implementation of that project. And I will hope to get them back here once they have a better sense of what their timeline is.
Anything to wait, which we have enough time to deal with it in the budget process.
Any expenditures that we might incur based on their current timeline, Richard, we wouldn't be seeing those until a full fiscal year from now, because of the engineering that would have to be done and then the start of construction. So we're probably 18 months to 2 years from seeing billable work on that project the way they do.
That's why we should get the insurance done.
The other item is one from the Recreation Committee that came to my attention Friday. This is a request to approve two recommendations of that committee to fill their membership. They're recommending Mary Jepson and Derek Romano as members, and ask the board to approve those.
I so move.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody in town that's not on the recreation committee, please stand up.
Or wrong for the selection.
All right, any other business?
I would ask that the select board convene to an executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters.
I so move.
Hang on a second. I wonder what the board would think of asking the town manager to send a memo to the department heads concerning purchases because of the overages, overtime, the weather, the searches, to use extreme caution on purchasing things for the rest of the fiscal year, with particular attention to supply items that might fall into the next fiscal year. The reason I bring this up is I think we made a mistake last meeting on the augers for the trucks, because the approved purchase order, I don't think you'll ever need that many between now and 1st of July when we get those.
We have no spares.
But how many did you replace so far this winter?
We just replaced them last fall, several of them last fall before we started the season. However, we have no spares.
So that's
So
the
if we
point.
get a large rock in there and they get bent,
That's
we
the
have
point,
no
Bruce.
center.
I can see you having a spare, but don't get any 2 sets of spares. I guess that's,
No, well, there was no 2 sets in there. There's one sander that takes 2 hours, and the other 2 sanders take 1 hour.
all right, well, that was what my thought was. So
The ultimate, Ken, just so you know, the ultimate backup is we could borrow one from the state of Vermont, probably,
Do you want?
temporarily, if we damage one.
No, I just want to know what you, people think
I
about
agree.
that.
I agree.
Consider it done.
Yeah, I think that the other thing we can do is if we can have the quarterly summary very, very close to the end of this quarter.
March numbers should be out. I mean, I think it's not crossed my desk, but they normally are out by the middle of the month, so you certainly would have them for next meeting. I still want to say February for the quarterly, you'll get it early in April, excuse me, we'll finish March, a month off here. I don't have the February numbers yet. It is the practice to give a quarterly report to the board of the comparison of land.
But I think the sense of the board is to cast a keen eye on all expenditures.
Well, if you like, we've got February's numbers will be coming off shortly. I can show you what the 8-month summary is, even though it's not on a quarterly cycle. You can take a look at those.
Maybe your motion's still good to go in executive session, talk about personal issues. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.